Montaigue, representing the WTBA, the World Tai Chi Boxing Association. Okay, we're going to get straight into it this time, no explanations. Please have a look at our volumes 1 and 2. This is a progressional series, so don't just look at this and think this is all it is. You need to watch the first ones before going into this. Okay, this lesson we're going to be looking at the temple strike. The temple strike in Dim Mak is its own point. The temple itself, the hollow, this whole kind of hollow in here, the soft point, you know, the bit you massage when you've got a headache kind of thing, that little nice little soft point, that's not actually an acupuncture point. You've got several acupuncture points in there. You've got gallbladder 3, which is just in about there, back towards the ear, in there. You've got gallbladder 1, which is in the crease of the eye here, and then you've got triple heater 23, which is more down into here, you see, down into the crease of the ear. So, you're getting a whole bunch of point effects there with reference to the Eastern view, the Chinese philosophy behind the points. The Western view, we're going to be primarily looking at the structural area of the strike. As I say, we're not looking at one specific point. We're not focusing on gallbladder 1 or gallbladder 3 or triple heater 23. We're looking at the temple. We're going to hit it with a large, powerful weapon that smashes and crushes, and we're going to hit it straight through. What we're going to have Leigh, my medical professional, to give an explanation as to why, on the Western terms, does this point have effect on the body.
Okay, as you know, there's a number of different acupuncture points around the temple, but also in the temple itself you've got the temporal artery, and you've also got some of the occipital nerves which feed the eye and the occipital region of the brain, of the face, sorry. But primarily it's the shape of the head that affects the temple. As you can see, the shape of the head is a very rounded structure, and it's made up of different plates, or different plates which are held together. If you look at a skull, then you'll see there's like the little cracks in the skull. Well, those are actually known as sutures in medicine, and wherever there's a plate, there'll be a suture attaching the different plates of the skull. Now, this is there for a reason. One, to allow the brain to grow and the skull to grow when we're actually children, we're growing. But also, any impact, because the head has the brain in it, and it's a very vital area of the body. The head is designed so that any impact is going to glance off this rounded structure of the head. So that's part of the reason why the head is the shape that it's in, as well as to make birthing easier and blah, 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 blah. But here at the temple, we've got 3 different plates that meet just here. And it's called the sphenoparietal suture, I believe, but my pronunciation of that is absolutely shocking, I do apologise. But basically, just here, where we lose this rounded structure of the head, if you look at a skull, you've got a depression that comes in on the skull here, and you've got a gap then behind the temporal bone here. You've got a gap there into the front of the brain, which allows the eyes and the muscles of the eyes to work, and you know, there's lots of different reasons for that. But primarily, here we lose the rounded structure of the skull, and it runs on more of a linear plane. Now, right on this linear plane, just in the temple there, is this 3 suture meeting point. And when we get a big, heavy impact, doesn't matter what the impact's from, whether it's from a road traffic accident, a flying cricket ball, or a punch, that triple suture area is the weakest point. And that point breaks, that goes into the brain, and it's basically game over from there.
Okay. So as you can see, it's basically, in layman's terms, is the weakest part of your head. Pretty simple.
Yep.
So when we strike it, as with the progression of these videos, we're looking at not why the energy systems may drain or any of this kind of stuff. That's all valid in Dim Mak. When we strike certain points, we drain and we're attacking the energy weak points of the body. But we're also looking at the physiological points. So every single Dim Mak point that we look at, the practical ones that we actually use in fighting, they all have a Western medical reason why they work. So it's not magic, it's pure science as to why we hit them. Now, when we're looking at...
I think your battery's going. It keeps coming up with a little red square in the corner here. It comes up with a little red square there.
Because this should be...
No?
No, it's plugged in, so
Oh, is it?
don't know what that might be.
Oh, there's a little red.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah. Anyway,
This would be a good part for the video.
yeah.
Looking at us both
look
up
at
the
that.
nose.
This is the temple.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that thing. What's that?
Oh, it's the memory card, I think.
Is it?
Capture. Oh no, that's just like loading. It's just capturing.
Oh, right,
onto
so
the
he's
memory
coming up
card, I
with,
think.
facial recognition
It's
sort of
just-
stuff.
yeah.
This very, very interesting video tells you all about video cameras as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Maybe I'll just. I think it's just. Okay, what were we up to? What was I just saying?
Oui, ça peut être.
Okay, so carrying on from that, what we're going to do now is give you some more applications. So again, same thing as all of these. We're trying to program our body's subconscious reflexive action to get to these points. Okay, so what we're going to work with the temple, we're going to give you a nice weapon here. It's called the hammer fist. You can attack the temple with anything. Back fist to the temple is a lovely shot. Pounding palm to the temple, elbows of course are lovely to the temple. Any shot will work well, but primarily the hammer fist is one of the best weapons for it. Okay, just a little explanation of those techniques that you just saw. Gives you some subconscious reflexive action to the temple. Alright, the first one we're looking at is just a straight out hammer fist straight into the temple. It's nothing special, it's just boom, just smash it. It's a lovely, powerful strike. You're hitting with this little muscly point here, so just on contact you just flex your hand a little bit. You don't want to hit with the hammer fist very softly because this little bone in your hand is quite weak. And if you hit him right on a hard point, like if I hit there, if I hit that hard, I can feel that's going to break my hand. But if I flex the hand, there now, that's the muscle hitting, you see, and there's no feeling whatsoever into that bone. So, of course, we're not hitting that, we're hitting a much softer point, but just in case you hit, you might try to headbutt your hand or something. I actually had a guy recently headbutt my shoulder. Worked great for him.
Yeah, I'll beat your fist over my face.
Yeah, mind you, I did that once myself as well.
Yeah.
It was the last resort. All I could do was headbutt him in the shoulder. Okay, so that's what we're looking at with this one. We're evading. This is very much like the first stomach 9 one that we did, where we punched in here and evaded to the side. Only we're just swinging this around into the temple there, you see? Whoa. With this one, you don't want to move too far if you're going for the temple. If you did move too far, of course you're going to get something else. You can whack him down in the back of the neck, you can get gallbladder 8 above the ear. There's a lot of other points. As I say, we're just focusing on singular points for this particular set. So whereas the stomach 9 one, we may have moved a bit further, this time we'll... See how my angle is a little bit less. So the stomach 9 one I may have moved like 45 degrees. This time I'm moving more just kind of maybe 20 degrees out of the way. Otherwise I'm simply not, if I go too far, you see I'm not going to get the angle on that temple shot. So I've got to get that angle straight in there like that. Direction of what your partner does will always affect your dim mak. Of course, that's why you must learn several different points. Let's say, for example, Leigh throws that hook punch and he's striking out. See there, that's the perfect angle for this strike. And that's what most people will do. He's got his head kind of facing with his shoulders in the direction that he's going. So in which case my hand will come around, boom, it fits perfectly right there. If he happened to be, I don't know, looking that way, for example, then his eye is a lovely shot as well. That's a dim mak shot, is the eyes. They're not an acupuncture point, the actual eye itself. There's acupuncture points around the eye, but not the eye itself. But you put a hammer fist on someone's eye, it's going to do some damage. Okay, so as I say, there's always somewhere else you can strike if the angle changes a little bit different. But for the purpose of training, we're of course just going to stick to these singular points. So that's the first strike. He's coming in there. Wah, there's your hammer coming straight down onto that point there. The second strike, that skips that one, so you're blocking it across, you see, like that, and coming in with the hammer that way. So it's almost kind of like a back fist style motion. It's going away from your body, but with the hammer intention rather than a whippy back fist. You're going like that, hammering again into the strike. So you've already seen it in fast motion as it's happening. We're just showing you, explaining it. So we're blocking in there. There's the strike coming through. Turn your waist into the movement always. recoil as well. And back again. The last one, hook punch on that side. Again, moving out of the way of it. That's a lovely one. Just your single pounding palm, just your heel palm, roughly. Smash it straight into the temple. It's a very powerful shot because, of course, you're just driving your whole body behind the movement. But again, don't push through, shock the system. So you want weight on it. It's got to be heavy. We don't want just shock. We want a combination of the two for these particular points. So we want to hit the point, and strike through it as the fingers flex back. So that's what we're looking there with reference to the actual applications we're going to work with. Okay.
If you are doing a heavy strike and a heavy pushy strike, that allows my neck to compensate for the pushing action. So I'm actually absorbing a lot of that force into my neck and moving the weapon out of the way. With the whippy type of strike, that force is going directly in to cause those bones to explode into the brain. So that's Newton's law, third law of physics, which is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So here, if I'm doing a push type, the equal and opposite reaction is his body getting out of the way because I'm pushing it out of the way. But here, if I whip backwards, I'm making my body the equal and opposite reaction, so all that's going in there is the force, which is causing the triple suture, in this case, to explode into the brain.
Okay, getting on to the striking with the hammer fist again. Oh, that's nice and warm now. It's been in the sun.
It's been in the sun.
I won't hurt my hands so much. It's freezing before. Okay, that's what we're looking at, the hammer fist. Now, you can practice your hammer fist in several different ways. You can hammer straight across, you can hammer down onto things, you can hammer up onto the hammer. Just works anywhere. Hammer fist is the kind of strike that you kind of don't need dim-mak when you're using a hammer. It's a very powerful weapon, but why not use dim-mak, because then you're guaranteed to get the shot. Same with elbows. You don't need to think, oh, hit him in CV22. Just slam into his neck anywhere and it's going to do enough damage to stop him. Okay, but just sticking with this hammer fist strike. Okay, the first strike is a lateral strike, straight into the temple, like that. So we're looking at a flat range. So don't curve it this way. This is a lovely training method for other strikes, maybe for a stomach 11 strike down on top of the collarbone, for example, or anywhere down the back of the neck, things like this, to get that downward impact into the strike. But in this case, we're working with the temple, so we're going to keep the mitt flat, like that. Now, when you're working with this strike, don't start like here, you see? I'm at the wrong angle. You've got to start here for your strike. So the mitt, his fingers are pointing at my nose, roughly. That's where I want to be looking at, and striking totally laterally. I'm going to get the right angle to strike across into my body. When you first start out, do the strike at your own head height, and then of course you can vary it. You can do it higher and lower. But as a general rule, the person doing the technique, put that at my head height. Okay, so what I want to get with this one is, it's a whip that comes through. I'm not going, this is what I'm not doing. You will have seen when I did it with Leigh with the two-person set, the application, the way that the arm moves. I'm not going, you see? Now that's a nice heavy shot. It's going to do some damage, but see, it's slow. I don't want slowness. See how the whole arm is coming out as one, you see? The whole arm's moving as one unit. What I want to get is like you throw a ball. When you throw a ball, what do? You don't go like this, unless you're playing cricket. We want a baseball. Baseball's better for martial arts than cricket, okay? The Americans will love that. Yeah. So if you want to learn how to fight, play baseball, not cricket. Although if you want to learn how to protect your groin, then cricket will do that. Anyway, okay, so we're coming across here, you see? What was I talking about? Ah, the whip. Okay, so like you're throwing a ball, just like anyone throws a ball. Your elbow goes first, watch. You see, like that. That's the general motion of the body, not that extreme, of course, not so big like that, but that's the motion. I don't pick the ball up and go like that, you see? I mean, I've seen some people do that, but don't get much distance on it. So, from where I am, I'm going to do it slowly. Watch what happens. See that? See how the elbow, exaggerating it so you can really see the motion of the body's going to turn to the left. See that? See how the elbow, and then the fist comes later. Now, take that to a less extent, not so extreme like that. You don't want to be too loose in your strikes, otherwise you can damage yourself. If I do that really loose, I can actually jar my shoulder and pop it out. So you've got to hold your structure within your looseness with any kind of strikes that you happen to be doing. So, coming around, the elbow just follows through there, and then the strike comes through on the end of the movement. So we get, see, much faster movement now. You see? Like that. Just keep it on my flat hand. That's it. So now what we want is recoil back. So basically when you hit it, try to get it so that you're not finishing with your center over here. If you can get your center roughly facing back towards the sort of the mid-holder kind of thing, like that, see, that's showing you've got some recoil in your strikes. Not only does it create a more powerful strike, but it means that you can come back to something straight away, not have to go and then come back slowly. So you recoil into your next strike. So from there, as I say, from a realistic distance, don't start out here. Your hand's not going to be out there before he attacks you. It's going to be here, on your center line, covering. You don't have your hand out here when you're about to fight because you're going to get punched. Have it on your guard. So whip it out of your guard and straight into the bag like that. Right? So that's what we're looking at. Recoil, not, see, that's just push. That's just pushing power. Moved him but didn't shock him. Didn't cause impact into his head. So that's what we're looking at. Squeeze the hand just as it hits. Okay, that's what we're looking at. The second strike, coming across this way. I'll leave it that hand, I'll use my left side. Got to balance myself out. Yeah. Okay, so this one we're coming across here and striking that way. It's an opening strike this time, striking that way with the body. So what we want with this one is, you've covered the strike there, you see, as you move out to your right. 1, 2, and then you turn in. So really dumbing it down, you're turning 1. See, there's your parry with that hand as you're turning out to your right to evade the strike. 1, and now you're going to turn your body left, right, left to center yourself back. So the left turn, of course, swings your arm out, and then the right turn whips it back in, and then you center. So they're the 3 turns of a Fa Jing movement. So we're going to just practice it from here. Just assume you've done your parry, and we're going to try to hit it from there like that. So you've got to whip it out. You can try practicing first just to get the idea of momentum. If you're not used to Fa Jing, don't try to whip it back straight away. This applies to all the strikes. So just get that idea first. Just make sure that's working. If you can't even do that, you're not going to be able to whip it back. You've got to get some momentum happening first. As I say, with all the strikes, hit it while you're looking over here. Don't focus on the middle and hit it like this. Okay, so you're there like that, just covering, hand on the top, hammer it out. Use your waist, turn, right? You see that? That's your strike getting there. It's got to be heavy. With the temple shot, we don't want really, really shallow. We want a bit of weight going into the strike. Whereas other points you'll see later on where we'll progress to. So for example, points around the back of the ear, triple E to 17, it doesn't need to go in deep to cause damage. It's just got to happen just on the surface. That's all you need with that point. So if, for example, let's say, for example, I was in here very, very close, I'm not going to get that much force from this position, so I'm not going to try to hit him in the temple. I'd rather, in this case, hit him in the back of the jaw, because just from there I can get enough snappy, whipping shock power, but not really that much weight behind the strike. For your temple, you need a bit more weight, so that's what we're looking at here. Come to here, turn in, that's going to give you your weight, and then snap it back down. Like that. You might ask yourself why we make so much noise when we strike. This is to simply connect your internal energy with your physical movement. This is what Taiji and Bagua, the internal arts, are all about. And it's happened so many times in our training where I'll have new people come to class, and they'll have them sit there, and they'll be trying to do a certain strike like this, and they just won't be, their technical form will be correct. You know, they're pushing from the leg, they're turning from the waist, they're doing everything okay, but there's no aggression. There's no release of power. They're not giving it their all. They're holding back just a little bit. We don't want to hold back at all when we're trying to go for a death shot. Now, when we make a sound, as soon as we go like that, our body, to make that sound, my body has to go like that. I can't physically make that noise without my belly making that kind of action, you see. So if I go, see, that's not quite the same. My body didn't react because it's, especially sort of a, that kind of a noise. If you're trying to push something, you need to dig down deep and push it forward like you're getting a car out of a bog. You don't want to go, that's just going to dent the bumper. You want to go, and push through it. So if you want to push someone, that's the sound you make to get the most force out of it. But when you want to create shock, if you go like this, your strike's going to be pushy. So we need, see, just making that noise. Doesn't matter what the noise is. My father always used to use or these kind of sounds because they tend to be the best sounds. Sounds that are short and just one syllable kind of thing. They don't go along for a long time. So any sound, you can go anything that will get you that motion of a single explosive movement. You're not thinking this kind of motion in your body anymore. You're thinking this snappy, violent action, and that's what we need in self-defense. Keep in mind, all the self-defense that we're talking about here is not ego fighting, it's not ring fighting. I don't want to get in the ring and smash someone in the throat because I'm going to seriously damage them. When you're doing ring fighting, you have to put the gloves on, put in some rule sets so that you can play in safety and not really hurt each other. Sore injuries still happen, but you're protecting yourself to some degree. When it's a street fight and we're talking life or death situation here, we are not talking, I'm walking down the street and some bloke goes, oh, you stupid dude with long hair, what are you doing? That's an ego fight. We don't want to give him anything back. So I've had that so many times in my life where someone's tried to pick on me, tried to shove me and go for a punch or something like this, and every time I'm just, come on man, you just talk your way out of the situation. That's not a real fight. All of those kind of ego fights you can walk away from, and that's your ultimate self-defense, is not fighting in the first place, or talk the situation down. If you're in a situation where you can't physically walk away, maybe you're on a train or something like that, you talk the situation down. But real life psychopath situations, someone's rushing towards you to rip your head off, you've got no other choice but to meet him with that equal force. You've got a psychopath running towards you and you try to defeat him nicely without hurting him, then okay, maybe you're much bigger than the guy, you've been training for 20 years, you may be able to, I'm not saying you can't, but why would you put yourself at risk before putting some crazy lunatic at risk? I would rather hit him as hard as I can and risk him getting hurt, he's the one that's attacking me, rather than me trying to hit him lighter, and that's putting my life at risk, and therefore it's putting my whole family's life at risk. So I'm always going to put my safety first. So that's why when we attack, we don't attack to, that's being nice, that's boom, that's just, stay back, just got a little punch on there. Young kid in the pub, yeah, if he's like, come on, and actually you can't talk it down, and he's trying to throw punches at you, he's some stupid young kid. You can tell, you've got to learn to read the situation. So it's not life or death, it's just an ego, he's trying to show off in front of his mates. Now still you may be able to talk the situation down. Play the coward and try to back away. If he does actually come in, then of course you don't want to get a bloody nose, so boom, you might just punch him on the nose, just to tell him what's what. Oh shit, okay, maybe I shouldn't deal with this guy. So of course, in those situations, I don't regard that as fighting, I don't regard that as self-defense, I regard that as a controlling situation. You're playing the bouncer. You're trying not to hurt this guy. That's the job of a controlling security officer, and so on. But life or death situation, you've got to hit to kill. Otherwise, you're putting yourself at risk. Okay, so that's those strikes there. That's why we make the sound. The last shot is the same. I think we've already done this strike. The only difference here is that this is the same as the mind point strike, only we're going to have the hand a little bit more up. So when we hit the mind point, we're hitting that way. This time, just your fingers are a slightly different angle, so I'll just briefly show that. But it's the same body mechanics as the previous volume when we did the mind points, like that, pumping out. Recoil it back, like that. My whole hand is actually hitting the mitt there. I'm not trying to hold it back so that my fingers don't touch. My whole hand touches it, but I'm feeling the power here. That's where I'm feeling most of the impact on my hand. Notice where I'm striking from. I keep saying that time and time again. I have so many students, they start here, and time it 3 or 4 strikes in, they're striking from back here again to try to get more power. And make sure you're not doing that. As a general rule, just another little sideline here, another little training method. I stand here, right, Leigh's got the mitt there. When I move, Leigh's going to try to hit me in the head, right? So if I go like this, he's going to hit me in the head, right? So I'm getting to learn that if I'm in a boxing situation, if I go to hit, he's going to tap me on the head. So you know that if you load your punch, you'll be hit. Or if you punch just simply, if I start my punch from here and I try to hit it fast, he's going to hit me before it gets there. It's just too much distance to travel, you see? Because he's using a jab, I'm using a big haymaker swing punch, you see? It's like hitting me on the head. Okay, but now, see my hand's here. My hand is now closer to his mitt than his mitt is to my head. So chances are, I'm going to, even if I'm not that quick, I'm still going to get there first. So I've got to stand here. See? Now you might miss it every now and again because Leigh's just as quick as I am, so it should be that you might miss it every now and again. But if you're missing it every time and getting hit on the head, then you're probably coiling your shoulder back. So you center down. When he sees a movement, see, he's going to whack me in the temple. Just keep it just straight on the front of the head, so you're not trying to aim at something that's going to do any damage. Just there. See? That's what you want to train for. If you can't hit it before he hits you in the head, then the strike's useless for a instigator. It's okay, as I say, if you bumped him in the eyes, bang, that's okay because you've already jabbed him. But as a first shot, you need to be able to make sure you can hit him before he can move his mitt. You can even do it literally by where you just hold the mitt there. If you don't like getting hit in the head, by where you just punch it and he just moves it. So if I try to move it, you see, he's going to move his mitt out of the way. So I'm going to stand there. You see? I've got to be able to punch that before he moves it. Keep in mind, whenever we look at self-defense, we do preempt attacks at certain points. If, for example, you've got 3 guys, you don't want to wait till they attack you because then they're all on you at once. So if Leigh's one guy and there's 2 other guys here and no one's attacking me, I'm going to come in and attack him because I need to get away from the other guy. So that's when we will attack in our defense. But if it's just 1-to-1, hopefully we're thinking we can get out of the fight. So we don't want to start the fight because then the fight's definitely going to start. So he's got to move, in which case he's thinking about attack. And whilst he's attacking, he's getting hit. You see? That's why it's most important whether you use a direct line of fire or a circular line of fire, 1-2 method. It must get there as he is attacking you. If he attacks me and I block him, now he's thinking about defense. You see? So he's going to have that there. Either he's throwing a second punch, in which case, if I block this, he throws a second punch, I have to block it again. I have to block it again. I'm going to be blocking all day long. Or, if I'm a bit quicker, I'll block that, and as my strike comes through, he'll block my strike, you see? Then he throws a strike, I block that, he blocks this. You see, it's block, block, it's playing a game. So when he throws the attack, you've got to hit him when it's his turn. He's doing this, you do that. You hit him as well. If he does this and backs away, if he takes like a step back to try to draw me onto him, I move back. If he moves back again, I move back. Then I get away from the situation. So if someone moves away from you in the fight, try to use that to think, yeah, back down, pretend you're a coward. Better to pretend you're a coward than possibly get beaten up in the street. Remember, there's no bell, there's no ring, there's no towel throwing in. If you do lose, then you can get seriously injured and taken out in that strike. Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of volume 3.